Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, June 25th, and the stars have aligned after a much long and needed break. I'm back. And I'm back with a very heavy heart because I know that what's coming, nobody's prepared for, not even me. And I think that's why I needed a couple last months off to come to terms with this oncoming reality. I started this off in a search of truth back in 2005 when I woke up to the false flag of 9/11. I went into understanding that the Federal Reserve was a privately owned bank and that it was a banking cartel that literally warped the face of humanity with their debt and death paradigm. And I went through everything. I left no stone unturned. I crawled through all the mud and I took a big, heavy personal toll. And when I did my video in March 20th saying I'm out, I basically called it almost to the day that the entire precious metal market just convulsed with this realization that there is not enough gold and silver out there in the world to possibly make up all the claims, much less the quadrillion-dollar generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme that we've all been ignorantly operating under, and its coming collapse. Over the past few months, I've really been taking a huge emotional toll because you have to realize, from my perspective, I've been operating under the idea that this was all theoretical and one day that this would all play out somehow and whatnot. And now that it's here, it's a heavier burden to me because now it's not this theoretical Chris fighting the Rothschild dragon and on the internet and then going to play video games later the same day. The very harsh reality of all these economic, financial, spiritual, emotional consequences are going to come down on humanity, and I called all this. So here I am going, what is one to do? Put yourself in my position, right? And so I've taken the last couple months to really get myself onto firm foundation because I know what is coming is going to be unlike anything anybody's ever seen before. And I'm not being dramatic. In fact, I'm trying to not make this seem as biblical as it's going to be. But I have no other way of describing this other than apocalyptical or something of that nature, because it's not just World War II, where a few countries, went to war and there was parts of the world that were, unaffected by this. And, this is going to be even much larger than that because it's not a military thing in nature. It's a financial, it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's technological. It's going to be, affect literally every aspect of our lives as the time when all the things that we have come to appreciate, all of our assets and our families and our relationships and our jobs, all going to disappear. And many Americans already, and I think we have 50 million unemployed Americans, are already feeling that. And we haven't had the real impact of the bankruptcies and layoffs and the industries that are going to be completely gone. Things are never going to go back to the way it was, and it's not just COVID. COVID to me has been a convenient cover, a convenient pause for people to go, whoa, wait a minute. If the global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme collapses, what's left standing? And I have a feeling the only thing that's going to be left standing is silver. So have I missed anything over the last 3 months? I know everybody's been going, Chris, where are you? And stuff like that. Well, the Golden State Mint has been inundated with orders since the time that I said I'm out. Literally, I think 100 times our normal volume came in during that time period, which is why the Mint has taken so long to get all these orders out. But now that they're finally getting out, we're actually ready to get back into business. In fact, I just put up We Consume You, which is a version 2 of the Pyramid of Power, back onto the Silver Shield group. So all those members that have been patiently waiting, many of them just joined right before I shut off, and I didn't have anything to offer them because of this influx. We now have something available. And for the public, you guys, July 4th, we're going to reopen up Silver Shield publicly with 2 wolves and, some Freedom Girl specials and a bunch of other things, and it's going to be more competitive than the United States Silver Eagle, which is another reason why I think Silver Shield is going to be in the prime position, because not only did we call this, it's all the truth that has been emblazoned on our silver coins. So regardless, whatever happens to me, I'm fearless in this. Those coins are going to last forever. I mean, 2,000 years from now, if we're still existing, God bless us, they will be sitting in a museum somewhere. Even people talk to me about what's going on. So much of the stuff I predicted, the financial collapse, the Native American genocide. I had some guy go, well, how have you ever spoken out about the Yeah, I had the whole Never Trust Government series called that. I had the Mount Rushmore scar coin, and I went back to the guy and I said, well, how come you're not incensed over the enslavement of yourself with the Federal Reserve? And here he is, probably sipping coffee on a Apple laptop, doing whatever, trying to social justice warrior me. No, buddy, we're all slaves. Whoever won the Civil War, the banksters did. And I think that's one of the things that we need to do, is actually we need to redeem our past and realize that it wasn't, all white people enslaving all black people. There was a very few criminal elite that engaged in slavery and engaged in banking and engaged in military, war, and profited off of the debt of nations. They caused it, not every white dude. I'm an Irish guy. I've never owned a slave my entire life. I don't think anybody in my family line has ever owned a slave. But I'm not going to stand here and start to try to defend people who did and get involved in that. This whole Black Lives Matter, social justice warrior stuff, it reminds me of all these color revolutions that George Soros funded all over Europe, causing distress where they would, topple governments and drive down, prices in cities, and then come back in and come out, buy up all the properties for nothing. They're not going to get away with it this time. I've predicted that Donald Trump is a Rothschild agent. Wilbur Ross is the Commerce Secretary. He's got, 5 Goldman Sachs guys, including Stephen Mnuchin, who's the head of the Treasury, who, when the U.S. Mint shut down, and went to go tour the gold at Fort Knox, he says, I guess it's there. This is a Goldman guy. So if we're going to start pointing fingers, let's point it to the ones that profit the most. And it's not follow the money, it's follow the gold. That's where the deep evil is. And that's where I think that this is going to blow up the most. The gold banking system is so corrupt and so full of criminals looking to backstab each other. We're now at the point where they have rehypothecated so much gold out there that people are now going to stand for delivery, and it's not there, folks. The gold is gone. I guarantee there's nothing in Fort Knox right now, and that we've been completely looted of our real wealth, given digital wealth, and now digital enslavement to this. And now the time has come to pay the check. And that's why I think silver is going to be so vitally important when this happens, because as soon as they realize gold is gone, what is that going to do to the price of the actual physical ounces that are in existence? I mean, it's going to quadruple, there's no price limit to that at that point, because it's quadrillions of dollars of digital illusions out there flying around looking for anything real. And that's why I think silver is even more important, because as soon as the real money gets to realize that there's no physical gold there, they're going to try to move into silver. And man, that market is infinitesimally smaller. The price action of that market is going to make Bitcoin look like nothing. And this is at a time, talking about predicting the future. I even did a USSA 2020 coin. We have $10 trillion in government spending this year, and we haven't even felt the full effect of the real economic collapse. We haven't felt the wave of bankruptcies. We haven't felt the second wave of COVID. We haven't even gotten to the elections that are coming up in 5 months, folks. Like, we're in la-la land still. If I told you, Barack Obama was spending $10 trillion a year, you guys would have all been up in arms. But somehow, because it's Donald Trump, you guys are... I don't know what the hell you guys are thinking. That's half of the GDP of the United States government, of the United States economy. And we haven't even gotten started yet. It's June. So now we have the government spending $10 trillion a year. We have all these middle-aged millennial women burning down every statue, regardless of whatever the hell it is. And then these are the men that helped build the most prosperous nations. Yes, all of our founding fathers probably owned slaves because that's what happened back then. Just like all you now own phones. Future generations are going to look back at all of us staring at phones while the world is burning down and view that as the ultimate collapse. Like, how dare you stare at the phone when the world is burning down around your ears? And we have these new Bolsheviks that want to enslave America. I told you what they did with Russia was they collapsed the Soviet Union because it was no longer profitable to keep this Cold War going. The banksters owned both sides of it. They created the Bolshevik Revolution to overthrow the czars. They funded Hitler and they funded us. It was a big profit scheme that they got out of it. And one of the plans I thought that they were going to do, and I don't think they're going to get away with it, is to essentially play that same game plan with us. And we're not. I don't see how that happens. We're the global superpower, and you can't pull that off. There's going to be far too much pain that's going to go along for people not to want to get to the bottom of this, and they're going to have to look at gold. And that's where I thought Wilbur Ross was going to come in as the Commerce Secretary, but I don't even think Trump's going to get reelected. Then what do we have? Biden, Pelosi, Obama, Bush. Did you see Bush is endorsing Biden? The guy's a legit straight-up pedophile. If you need to see any videos of a creepier man touching and hugging and kissing children, look at congressional footage of him or the vice president footage of him. They're all corrupt and bought off. That's the problem. Everybody gets bought off and paid for, and that's why we get the worst of humanity. And we're all supporting it with our careers, our votes, our views, and that's why you need to pull all your money out, because you have no other choice. It's all going to collapse with you or without you. This is a call to arms. You need to pull all your wealth out. I'm even selling my own house, again, to go buy even more silver. And we haven't even felt the waves of bankruptcies and the economic devastation. How about every city? Think about this, folks. Would you live in Manhattan right now? Can you imagine paying $50 million for a luxury apartment or overlooking Central Park? And now you can't even go around anywhere in one of the most populated cities in the world because of COVID, and defund the police and riots and wealth disparity and the taxes that are going to have to be raised on all of this, into living in an unsustainable paradigm where you don't even know if you're going to get food and fuel when the dollar collapses. I mean, it's bad there now. Wait until the dollar collapses. And that's every city. And if every city is a failed operating system that no longer works because we can, work on the internet, and that we actually need to live more sustainably and closer to the earth, that who the hell wants to live there? What's going to happen to the valuations of that? The retail economy of New York City is completely gone. You can't go to any sporting events, can't even go to plays, and restaurants that were hard to get into before are impossible. They're all going out of business. So what do you do when the operating system of New York City is a failed operating system and no longer will be rebooted again? It's literally going to be like Escape from New York. And this is before we even have the global tensions that are going to rise. Literally, North Korea is probably going to invade South Korea. We have India and China that are going at it. All these things are going to start popping up all over the place because there's going to be a power vacuum. How about the college system? We have all this $1.6 trillion of unforgivable student loan debt that's been put on our youngest children so that they can't even go buy cars, get houses, have babies, and do anything. I heard an article about a girl who took out $50,000 for a student loan and donated it all to Bernie Sanders the day before he quit the race. And her excuse was that if she gave it to Bernie and he was going to cancel all the student debt, she didn't have anything to worry about. Well, guess what? That's now sitting on her forever. That one stupid move. Why would we as a society even allow this? And this is why everything must collapse. Everything. How about the travel, hotel, dining, and vacation industry? I saw one stupid senator out of Arizona, I think the one that replaced John McCain, I'm not making this up, wants to give $4,000 tax credit for everybody to go vacation again. We are living in idiocracy. There is no safe place other than silver. because it's the most undervalued asset of all time. They manipulated it into nothing, and that's why we're sitting at the top of it. Hollywood, oh my God, they couldn't beat up these sequels enough. There's nothing left to do. They destroyed Star Wars. They have nothing left in Marvel Universe to do. And you can't even go to movie theaters anymore. They're out of ideas. Sports? When you think people are going to ever go back to huge sporting events? And if you can't go to the sporting events, you're not emotionally attached to the energy that those things do, and all these overinflated egos and salaries of these man-childs playing with kids' games is going to be destroyed. We don't need to invest more money into man-childs playing children's games and inspiring other children to become man-childs. To make millions of dollars playing as a bread and circuses. Wall Street. Since I've been gone, don't tell me that this isn't a complete rigged game that you will never win in. All they're going to do is keep printing more and more money, and that's why silver is eventually going to be the only place to be, because all these stocks, even the people trading in, are going, oh my God, this is insane. Literally, the economy is falling apart where the United States government's completely bankrupt. And they're just printing money and going buy all these social media companies. What world are we living in, folks? How about the auto industry and airlines? I don't think Boeing's taken an order in 3 months now. Who's gonna have all these cars when they're broke and their jobs don't work and you can't even commute into cities anymore? I think at one point they shut down Manhattan below 86th Street to all traffic. And now New York governor is talking about pulling over people with out-of-state plates and fining them $1,000. We are in insane times. And one of the beautiful things I think is going to happen, because I am a former Republican, is that all these Democratic states are going to suffer the worst. San Francisco and all these other places all over the world that are been going along with this ridiculous ideas of liberalism, where they can just tax and spend and give it all to people who don't produce anything. They're all going to be failed banana republics. How about the advertising industry, right? I just listed, I don't know, 6 or 7 industries that are done forever, folks. Things are not going to go back this way. How can they even advertise? Oh, happy times are here again? Now to the more serious one. How about commercial real estate? Think about it. Think about commercial real estate. How many billions of dollars or trillions of dollars that are involved in commercial real estate in all of these cities that are now worth nothing. They're nothing. If people don't live in the cities and people are broke and they have no means of doing it, it's over. Malls are over. Strip malls are over. They're not going to survive this. City real estate pricing collapses. That's where it's going to get hit the hardest. So all these people who lived in these high-paying jobs, social media, Wall Street, advertising, whatever it is, they're all going to be nooses around their neck because they can't unload it, and they're watching their entire industry go down. I mean, the suicide rate amongst the wealthy is going to be I have no other way of describing it. I think Stephen Bing, one of these wealthy financiers out in Hollywood, just committed suicide 2 days ago. How about the oil industry bust? I mean, right around the time that I said I'm out, we watched oil tick to negative $45 a barrel. Here we have the United States invested in all this fracking that has destroyed our water, and our ground quality to produce uneconomical gas and oil. And billions of dollars that it made no sense when things were good. And now with the oil prices going down and the economy and the consumption of oil going down, I mean, the defaults just in the oil industry enough are going to be bigger than the savings and loan scandal. And then that leads to the next huge one. Think about it. Now, how many industries did I just nail? How many people are going to be unemployed? 50 million is not enough, folks. The United States is going to see 200 million people unemployed, and very soon. I would even say around October if things get really bad enough. That's going to lead to the banking collapse. When the banking collapse goes, so goes the dollar, so goes everything. This is a global generation, and that's just the United States, folks. Every other country out there has a microcosm of this macrocosm. We infected the world with our debt and death paradigm, and now everybody's going to suffer along with us. And I can't imagine the outrage that's going to happen against the United States. People are going to hate you even though you weren't a part of it. Just like people are hating China even though that there's only 90 million Chinese communists and that there's 1.4 billion people that live in China that are under their thuggish regime. The only solution is, folks, to get out now. Not tomorrow, now. Every asset you own will be worth nothing. Think of it. Your dollars in your bank are going to be worth nothing. You don't even know if the banks are going to survive. Your house, your real estate, your industry. Anybody who's smart that's listening to this knows that your industry is done. I don't care if you're in the government and you have some pension job. Done. Your pension will be worth nothing when this is over. Your salary will be worth nothing when this is over. Soldiers, please bring our troops home before this goes down. I don't need to have my devil dogs all overseas fighting wars for banksters when we know that Smedley Butler was right. War is a racket, and holding together this debt and death empire means nothing. Bring our troops home. And now I'm going to get to the real heart of the matter. On the international front, it's not much better. China is the many-headed hydra. That is the beast in the east, folks. They're trying to steal the crown from the divine American tale. And I do believe America is a divine purpose. We were divinely brought here. We have the best and brightest, and we got hijacked along the way and kept us from this. But we still are going to be the only place on earth that can possibly build the shining cities on the hill. And I believe that silver is going to be the key to doing that. And we needed this collapse. We needed this to clear out all the inequity and all the, the people that would take advantage of everybody. And China is going to try to take that destiny away from us, and I don't think they're going to get away with it, although I am very fearful that they are capable of destroying everything. This is a regime that murdered, plowed down, literally ground their own citizens into meat soup, according to their own intelligence reports, where they ran tanks over 10,000 student protesters in Tiananmen Square. Forget about the pollution. Forget about the genocide. Just focus on just Tiananmen Square. This is a ruthless, godless, brutal, technocratic regime. And they've created this mark of the beast Bitcoin. And they've been very clever at getting all the world's gold. And they've made cunning ties with all the cunning banksters. And now I just read an article that the Vatican itself is getting paid $2 billion a year in bribes from the Chinese Communist Party, and that they're going to rewrite the fucking Bible. Can you imagine this? And China and this communist regime would not have existed without the banksters. We help fund. First of all, we destabilized dynastic China, the most pliant, longest lasting, peaceful nation, I'm assuming, if it lasted 2,000 years, dynasty, with 2 opium wars, where the British and the Rothschilds basically brought in opium to help settle the trade imbalance, because China had 25% of the world's silver and didn't buy any British manufactured goods to help, settle the trade balance. The British and the Rothschilds were going broke, just like now. I guarantee the Chinese have all the gold, and Fort Knox is empty, and now the London Bullion Market Association screaming that they don't have enough gold because they have so many promises out there that the Chinese probably have. So we destabilized China with 2 opium wars, caused all this stuff, enabled Mao to have this horrible genocide, and they've kept them in power, no different than what the banksters did with the Bolsheviks in Russia. And we don't have a Putin in China to help to turn that around. No, we have 90 million fanatical communists that believe that they are going to own and control the world through total domination and totalitarian states. We made them. The banksters deindustrialized America to create that. They've allowed all this technology to be stolen. They've enabled that. And they think psychopathically, the banksters in the Vatican now think that they're going to somehow make ease with them, with the devil. They're going to eat them up too. So we must confront China, but not in an overt, militaristic way, because I don't know if anybody survives that. These are godless people. They would think of doing nothing but nuking. And right now, business has been doing good for them. We need to bring them to their knees. And I think making silver money again is a very important step in revaluing everything out there and bringing back all of our industry in a way that Donald Trump will never be able to do. He is not built for this. If America does not get its act together, no one will come out of this conflict alive. No one. Now, I never got into the conspiracy theories about China releasing COVID, but it does seem very suspicious to me that it did start in China, that they did allow 6 million passengers fly all over the world with this disease, and that was the way of bringing on the economic collapse, to which they really now stand to profit from, because they're the world's largest gold producer, largest gold holder, and there's probably no more gold at the LBMA, Fort Knox, or any of the Western central banks that they didn't own. And this is going to be a huge problem that I don't think many of the political or military people even see coming. And over these past 3 months, I've had to come to terms with the real empathetic reality, because in order to think at the level that I do, to be able to put all the pieces together, on the financial, political, military, social, spiritual, economic level, whatever it is, I did it in theory. It was easy for me to say, oh, the Rothschilds, bad guys owning banks, and I saw how it made sense to them to do what they did, to have the power to be able to do this and stuff like that. But it was more of a theoretical exercise for me. Now it's become an emotional one, because this is now happening in real life. The real ramifications, the consequences are all going to come down. I see it coming so clearly now. In fact, I had a dream this morning of a tornado coming right at me. It was a white tornado against a blue sky, but it was coming right at us. And I really think that this is all going to start collapsing very soon in a way that they're never going to be able to reverse. We're not going to get a new stock market bump. I think this is going to be a race to the bottom at this point. And on top of that, I have been listening to the news and hearing, regardless of the George Soros funding of all these, anarchists and, trying to burn down statues and buildings and all this other stuff, I have felt the real pain underneath all this. The drug war against, the black men in particular is abhorrent for 50 years. The majority of the black men are in there because of marijuana. Shit, if I lived in the urban city and I was a black guy whose all the jobs got deported overseas and he had nothing left to do, the least you could do is give them a joint to pass their pain. No, what we did was rip them from their neighborhood, throw them in jails, make them into criminals and thugs, and deprive generations of having good men in there. I feel the pain of the black man. I do. I get it. And then the black men that are in power, what are they doing? They're man-childs playing games. Actors or comedians or things. They're not building local businesses and industries and building sustainable things. They're being paid to play kid. It's emasculated them, and they're kings. In this country, and I even did a lot of stuff on my Instagram saying that we needed to redeem the past. Yes, the United States has got a bloody fucking history. We did a lot of bad shit, and I say we as a collective we, not individuals. And that's one thing I think is most important. None of the individuals alive, save for the banking and the military-industrial complex, has any claim to any of the past pain. Right? Reparations, sorry. The people that you would take it from, they weren't the ones that did it. Okay, if you're going to do reparations, let's start with the Vatican. Let's start with the London Bullion Market Association, HSBC, the drug runners, the criminal elite banking families. That's what the place to be. And unfortunately, when that happens, everything is gone. So yeah, give trillions of dollars of reparations to everybody. Make everybody a trillionaire, because that's where hyperinflation is going to take us anyways. Yes, we have the slave trade, Native American genocide, the brutal industrialization, systemic racism, wars, and wealth disparity. That's in this American story, right? That is what helped create this country, and unfortunately, that's exactly how it all had to play out. As a conscious humanity, we had to get past feudalism, and we had to get past racism with enslavement and so much social inequities that we've had to work through. But this time now, there's no excuse. We are a global, conscious, awakened masses, and when we feel the consequences of this collapse, truth must come out. And nobody's spoken truth like me. I don't think anybody's had such a broad perspective on so many things and called it more accurately and given a solution with Silver Shield. So if you want to get to the real bottom, you need to follow the goldmen. The gold is the money of the high priests of power. Those that hold the most gold probably have the most sin. Trusting Goldman Sachs to guard Fort Knox is a sin, and I believe it's all gone. The Federal Reserve is a criminal banking cabal that has made slaves out of all of us. Where's the outrage for that? You want to tear down statues and stuff? Where's the outrage for the Federal Reserve that has indebted us forever, all of us? And now we're going to face the consequences of utter societal collapse because of them. And yet, people are still betting on Bitcoin and Apple stock and, sitting in their McMansions thinking that everything's going to go okay. You're all going to suffer. Anybody who doesn't do exactly what I say right now is going to suffer in the worst ways, especially those that had listened to me and didn't do what I told you to do. Sell everything, buy Silver Shield. It's always the few at the top that own the slaves or industries that got the unwitting masses to spill our blood and treasure for their lies and profits. And now that I found out that the Vatican itself is working hand in hand with the Chinese communists to rewrite the Bible, and the Vatican's getting $2 billion a year bribe, and this, go look it up on Breitbart, it's not me. Who has the moral high ground anymore? Who has the moral high ground to call out this debt and death paradigm? If the Vatican can't do it, who can? They're just as part of it as anybody else. What political candidate, what CEO even speaks out against this? They all keep their mouths shut because they know that if they speak out, they get cast out and will lose everything. This doesn't end well for anybody. Which brings me back to the average guy. I spent a lot of time over this past 2 months and traveling a lot and in deep meditation. And I look around the unconscious masses and they simply don't have the means of understanding what's coming. Majority of Americans are just very simple people, and I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying that they've been handed a really bad deck of poor education, poor diets, poor value structures. They've suffered, and I don't see a way out where they're still gonna get out of this without having even more pain. That's what's really hurt me, I think, the most, is the real individual lives that I know are going to be affected by this collapse. And I know I keep coming back to that. I did my best, and I can't save everybody, but it really is going to bother me that a lot of good-natured people who are very faithful or simply just don't know, they're going to suffer in ways that I don't think it's fair. And that's why I think men who do see this coming on the other side really do need to make sacred, sustainable, conscious, abundant living their priority. We cannot come out of this and create more of the same. And we really need to be generous and help those that are around us, and not in ways of just handing money out, putting in systems in place for food to be produced, for people to have jobs, to have their dignity, to be able to go earn a wage and be able to have the food and shelter and water and clothing and power that I don't think is very difficult for us to do. We spend trillions of dollars on these wars for oil. I mean, we could have had solar power for every single house over and made it a value structure to have, you know, all of our food grown locally and make, you know, organic. That's good things that are going to come out of this. And I hope that the people that end up profiting off of this largest transfer of wealth ever take time to consider, you know, don't be this guy that's going to go off to Vegas and, you know, hookers and Lamborghinis and go blow it all on cocaine. You know, this is the time you've been giving a gift. And with this gift is a huge responsibility to be better than those that were, you know, didn't do well with this wealth. It scares me how much wealth is out there and could help so many, and yet they just acquire more and more and more, and it's never enough. Well, I'll tell you what, I think the world has had enough of this. I don't think that this gets to go on any further. These people have been generationally hobbled with poor education, poor diets, and poor relationships. And I fear the worst for them as what's coming is so large and is coming from out of nowhere that there's nowhere to turn. And we don't even have local food production anymore because we've, you know, turned into this corporate overnight delivery systems. And I just listed almost every single industry is in terminal decline. Things are never going to go back to the way it was, folks. The good times are over. Any more money that gets printed is going to have less and less effect. We've already seen it. There's printed $10 trillion so far this year. The United States government's going to be doing. The Federal Reserve is increasing their balance sheet, which is more stealing of wealth. Every time that they print more money destroys your purchasing power. And at some point, the inflation is going to rip your eyeballs out. You are not going to believe what it's going to cost just to get basic goods anymore. Food and fuel will become worth more than gold at some points. And at the end of the day, it's going to show up most dramatically in physical silver. Silver, once this breaks out, we're going to hit 21, 26, 51, and then it's off to the fucking races forever, folks. Silver is a rare, precious metal that is in terminal decline, and we need a massively revalued silver price to bring on any more silver before it becomes extinct. We've already seen Peru's collapse in silver mining, almost 50% this past April. This is, and we have the rest of our humanity to go through. We have eaten up all this silver and made it so cheap that we've used it in uneconomical things and such small things that will never be recovered. Like, silver is going to be the best performing asset for the rest of eternity. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm not trying to be a Silver Snake salesperson. It is all the power that I see, all the collapse of the global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme into anything real. Silver is at best a $44 billion market, and I think about how much of that's probably rehypothecated in the silver ETFs, where they probably have 100 claims for every physical ounce of silver. Just that reality alone coming out is going to make silver worth more than $51. I mean, gold is nearing its all-time high again at close to 1,800, and silver's still 65% below what it was in 2011 when it was up at 50. The most manipulated thing, and they can't let it out. And when it does get out, it's going to be going up forever relative to every single asset out there. Even if you own gold, you're going to lose to silver. I will eat all your gold. Because the gold to silver ratio right now is at a 1 to 100. Historically, it's been 1 to 12, 1 to 16. And that was a direct result of the gold to silver mining ratio, which is now down to a 1 to 8. So even if nothing happens, silver is going to go up 10 times relative to gold. And that's just before the party gets started, folks. Because I'm telling you, I've seen this more than anybody else. And when this all goes down, people are going to clamor to have gold. Wait until the momentum of the cryptocurrency people get into silver and they start seeing it run, where they can't get it at all at any price. So if you don't see the writing on the wall, I can't help you. please unsubscribe. Please go away. Go enjoy whatever last final days you have of this paradigm. But I'm telling you, if you're not buying physical silver and all your assets into physical silver, yeah, you need gold and food and stuff like that, or guns and food and stuff like that. You're just going to get devastated. Any stock, bond, pension, commercial real estate, even your home value. I mean, these are all things that are going to go down in value relative to silver. The only solution is what I proposed back in 2011 when I wrote The Silver Bullet, Silver Shield. That silver was and is the Achilles heel of the global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme, the debt and death empire. Sell everything you have to buy silver. Silver will be the most valuable asset, because here's what ends up happening. If we don't get this right, and we do end up with this race to the death with China, this beast in the East, that's been backed by the bankers and the Vatican, apparently, we're going to enter into a new conscious silver age of humanity. And that silver age of humanity is about the rising awareness, the revelation of all these lies that I've been talking about, all these schemes and all these profiting demons out there. We can have a beautiful life, folks. It's just the few cunning people at the top that we just need to bring justice to. We need truth. And until we have truth, we'll never have justice. Until we have justice, we have no peace. That's the only way out. You can scream and yell and pull down statues, but what you need is truth. Who profits off of this? Who enabled this? Where's the money? Follow the gold. People shouldn't own gold. It's the money of the worst people. And everything else that every other option, every other thought out there that's not along this line is a dangerous, cunning, collectivist scheme that will end in utter destruction. Everybody thinks they're going to outfuck each other. If you're part of that thing, you're done. You're done. There's no room for error on this. This is eye of the needle time. We have to give rise to new virtues like truth as a means, and having the financial means of massively revaluing silver. We get to decide what the price of silver is. You guys are always bitching about, spot price and this. Fuck that. Go to usadebtclock.org. They have just newly printed money versus every ounce of silver. The United States, $3,700 they're printing for every ounce of global silver being mined. And you're complaining about $18 silver? You should be happy to pay higher and higher prices because you get ounces. At some point, you won't be able to get them. And we need massively rehired value prices of silver. How else are we going to build something new? God, I have the whole ideas for creating, whole cities that are sustainable and that people would actually enjoy living and attract the best and brightest from all over the world. What couldn't we do? But we can't do that if we don't have the capital to do that. If silver's languishing at $18, give me $1,000 silver. Give me $700,000 silver. Let me show you what I can build. We need to build shining cities on the hill to inspire the world once again, to make America the great place where everybody wants to go to. And we need to do this to outdo China. China only offers the worst ideas, and we're allowing them to even sit at the table? So this is your last chance to sell forever all your digital illusions of wealth that have enabled the debt and death Ponzi scheme. This is your last chance to walk away from your careers, organizations, and relationships that have enabled the worst in humanity. Simply walk away and never look back. You know the old way is dying. The global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme collapse is here, folks. It's here. And all that's going to be doing is, where is the chips going to fall? And silver is going to be the only place. There's no price of silver, no dollar price of silver that is possibly the top. I'd like to think we're going to sell, an ounce of silver for an acre of land. It's probably going to be even more than that, folks, to be honest. And for all you guys who are, just stacking regular silver ounces, think about this. I get it that I'm pumping my own book with Silver Shield, but think about it. I'm the only brand in silver. I'm the only one that called the global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme. This is literally like holy relics that you're getting now on eBay for nothing. That's how big this is going to be. If we're going to have a biblical collapse, it would make sense that the things that predicted the prophecy, the guys that predicted this, and the ones that enabled this to even persist during very hard times, like the Silver Shield stackers, those are the guys that helped carry this message through. If I didn't have this, I wouldn't have been able to continue to do what I do. So it only makes sense that Silver Shield is going to be worth far more than any other relative silver out there. Yeah, silver is going to do well. I'm not going to say that, owning buffaloes are not going to be a great financial investment. But for just a little bit more, shit, if you could have the preeminent, Silver Shield or maybe specific strikes, go look through all the eBay and go to silvershieldcollection.com. Look at how many of those strikes predict exactly what's happening right now. Exactly what's happening right now in silver that I did years ago. How could it not be worth tons? And that's why I've been fearless in this, because I know regardless whatever happens to me, I come in peace. I have no skin in the game. Even the worst banksters and communists, if they came along and were like, shit, this kid's right, they're changed forever. They then come into this as a conscious individual solution to all of these unconscious collectivist problems. And that's the problem. So many people are unconsciously enabling this. And there's good people inside the banking system and the priest class and, where Wall Street, wherever you think that there's bad people, there's good people there who really believe that they're doing good things. And they don't know any better. They're just as ignorant as the masses who are eating donuts on the side of the road. But conscious individual solutions, people who hear my message, I own you forever, because you'll never not see things the way that this is. Because unless there's something better out there, I haven't heard it yet. So we're going to get back to business, hopefully, unless the silver market blows up after this video, July 4th at goldenstatemint.com with 2 wolves. And I think that's a pretty telling design to be releasing, because that's where it all comes down to. You can think that, the Rothschilds are the bad guys and the communists or the Vatican or the Black Pope or, whoever you think is the ultimate bad guy out there. Ultimately, the only one is you. It's it. Look in the mirror. You're the only one responsible for all the consequences that are headed your way. Anything that is going to happen to you ultimately is a response of your inability or ability to, of what you have enabled, where you've positioned yourself, whose energy, whose values you represented. You were the one that caused your collapse. You were the one that was the savior to your family and your friends and yourself. It's the 2 wolves inside of you. You have to see which one you're going to feed, greed or fear, or you're going to, think about, hope and abundance and, solutions and stuff. And that's ultimately what all this is going to come down to. So I obviously went on a lot longer than I thought I was going to. But July 4th, folks, declare your independence. Say no to the debt and death paradigm. End all your investments and every single thing outside of you, all these digital illusions of wealth. Know that all these industries are done. You can come back in later to buy them with silver. I'm sure that the valuations of stocks relative to silver are going to be pretty amazing on the other side. But you have to get your wealth through this eye of the needle time. This is where and it's difficult. I don't think a lot of people are going to make it through, even on this channel. People think that they're hedged with a little bit of silver. Yeah, no, the ramifications that are coming are going to be very dramatic, and you're going to wish that you had everything into physical silver. So this is our chance, a conscious individual evolution on July 4th to come out of this and say, I declare my independence from this, from the debt and death paradigm, that I'm going to be the I don't know, the patriarch, the matriarch that saw all this coming and did the dramatic action of buying physical silver in a way that, you know, that you end up ultimately profiting off of the worst financial collapse ever. And then what can't you build on the other side of it? What value structures can you then bring? And that's what gives me hope, because I know that the people who've been stuck in the silver trade with me, it's tough. And it takes a real intestinal fortitude and good values to be able to say, I know that this is the right thing to do. I'm going to keep through this. Not this shiny object syndrome of, well, now Bitcoin, well, now Apple, now you know, Hertz, go buy Hertz stock. No, it's the people that I really saw this coming and did the hard work of physically securing this and trying to educate and wake up other people. Those are the ones that give me hope, because I know that there's thousands of other men and women out there, you know, perhaps tens of thousands. I wish it was millions if YouTube didn't censor me the way that they did. It could have been so much larger, but I have to take, you know, what we have and go with it. So I hope everybody hears this, shares this message. I know that this is long. People complain my 8-hour Silver Shield movie. If you can't sit down to watch that movie, that's a great way of saying, hey, you know, I don't need you in my life, because you didn't even do the basic sit and watch an 8-hour movie when everybody's streaming Tiger King and, you know, all these other things out there, unemployed with nothing to do. That one movie, that Silver Shield movie, that should be everywhere. I should be on Joe Rogan podcast. I should be on CNBC. They should be, you know, but I have no promotion, no team behind me, no nothing. So I'm working all off of, you know, complete organic and I know suppressed media out there. And anybody who holds back my message is going to suffer, because they know that I was right. They know I was close, and they were the ones that kept other people from hearing my words. So I bless everybody. I hope everybody makes it through this alive. I'm going to get back into a more local or more scheduled getting back onto YouTube. I'm going to maintain focus just on the silver trade, because that's ultimately the little pinpoint, the little prick behind that's going to blow up the Death Star. Thank you.